Before we start, I suggest to subscribe for more creepy content. It was a chilly autumn evening when I found myself driving down a desolate road far from the comforts of the city lights. My curiosity led me to the outskirts, where rumors whispered of an abandoned asylum that lay shrouded in mystery. A place where sanity had unraveled and horrors lurked in the shadows. I couldn't resist the urge to explore, despite the unease creeping up my spine. The old asylum emerged from the darkness, its decaying facade giving me a chilling welcome. Its once sturdy walls now sagged like a withered soul, and broken windows gaped like hollow eyes. The wind howled through the empty hallways, carrying eerie whispers that seemed to beckon me closer, heart pounding. I took hesitant steps toward the entrance. As I crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted, swallowing me whole in an air of dread. The air was musty, carrying the scent of age and despair. My flashlight provided a feeble beam that only emphasized the encroaching darkness. The floor creaked underfoot, and every sound amplified, magnifying my trepidation. I explored the asylum room by room, finding remnants of the past, strewn in disarray. Abandoned hospital beds, broken furniture, and shredded documents told tales of suffering and loss. As I ventured deeper, the unease intensified, as if an unseen presence was breathing down my neck. My steps led me to the basement, a place where the darkest secrets were said to be hidden. The stairs descended into a suffocating darkness, and I hesitated for a moment, my rational mind urging me to turn back. But the allure of the unknown gripped me, and I pushed forward, the stairs groaning under the weight of my apprehension. The basement was a labyrinth of moldy corridors, walls adorned with graffiti from those who dared venture before me. A chilling silence hung in the air, disrupted only by the faint sound of dripping water. My heart pounded like a relentless drum as I made my way through the dim, labyrinthine halls. Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed through the corridor, causing me to freeze in terror. It sounded like a plea for help, haunting and pitiful. My flashlight darted around frantically, but I saw nothing. Dismissing it as a figment of my imagination, I pressed on, trying to ignore the gnawing fear. In the distance, a flickering light caught my eye, and I moved toward it like a moth drawn to a flame. The light emanated from a room, the door ajar, and I cautiously pushed it open. The sight that greeted me froze the blood in my veins. Within the dimly lit room, I saw a figure hunched over a desk, scribbling furiously on a parchment. Its face was obscured by long, matted hair, and its clothes were tattered and filthy. An overwhelming sense of malevolence permeated the air, and I couldn't move, trapped by a haunting gaze I couldn't see. The figure suddenly stopped writing and turned its head slowly towards me. I was paralyzed with fear, feeling its hollow eyes pierce into my very soul. Without warning, it let out an anguished wail that seemed to pierce through my eardrums, and I stumbled backward, my flashlight clattering to the floor. With newfound courage, I turned and sprinted through the maze of corridors, desperate to escape the malevolent presence that pursued me. My heart pounded in my chest, and my breaths came in ragged gasps. Panic clutched at my throat, but I refused to give in to the relentless terror. I finally burst out of the asylum, my legs carrying me far away from that wretched place. I didn't stop until I reached the safety of my car, where I collapsed into the driver's seat, gasping for breath. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something malevolent had followed me out of that forsaken asylum. Since that night, I've tried to forget the horrors I witnessed, but they haunt my dreams like a relentless specter. I often wonder if the figure I saw in the basement was a tortured soul trapped in the asylum's twisted history or something far more sinister. Regardless, I know one thing for certain. That place was not meant for the living.